The Supersport 600 staying afloat on the Indy Circuit. First, Julian Ryder brings us up to date.
Round 2 at Alton Park saw Simon Smith on Honda number 24 set pole and get the whole shot. Defending champ Dave Hill was the first to get past, and his V&M Honda teammate Ian Simpson was making rapid progress as well. Jim Moody on the Suzuki was next to lead, but TT hero Phil McCallan, winner of the first round at Donington on number 11 Honda, he was the man to watch. McCallan soon led from Moody and Simpson. Then, when Moody slid off going into Lodge Corner and damaged his bike too much to continue, he handed the lead to McCallan, but he followed suit at Knickerbrook, also without injury, and Simpson was left to take the win and in some way make up for his disqualification from third place in the first round at Donington for a minor technical infringement.
Well, I knew it was going to be down to the last 2 or 3 laps. Myself, Jim and Philip seemed to settle in the middle of the race, and I knew it would just be sort of do or die stuff in the last 3 or 4 laps. And Jim slid off and I lost a wee bit of time there, and then Philip slid off as well, so I was just watching my pit board after that.
Round 3 at Snetterton was wet, which didn't stop Jim Moody from taking his second pole of the year, something he was well pleased with. But it was Dave Hill and the Aussie Dean Thomas who led early on. The Suzuki's power put Moody in front down the Revit straight, with Dean Thomas's Honda struggling to stay in his slipstream in second place. Dave Hill was next along after a second row start. Mara Brown was having his best run of the season so far, hailed by Essex man Phil Morley. The perennial privateer now enjoying sponsorship thanks to lottery winner Carl Crompton. The decisive move came when Thomas dived inside Moody at Riches, and he had enough in hand to hold on to the flag. The Aussie's first win in British Championship racing also put him top of the points table. He leads after 3 races from defending champ Hill, who's piling up the points despite a best finish so far of 3rd. The Scots Moody and Simpson share 3rd place, just ahead of the improving Mara Brown. And so to Brands Hatch, where it's raining on one side and it's bright and sunny on the other. So who does championship leader Thomas see as his main rival today?
I think we're looking at Moody and Browning today. I think he's the biggest threat. They're running equal 3rd in the championship. So I think if I can stay in touch with them in the point scene, then we should be right. It's a long season, you know, we're not very far into the whole round. So yeah, at this stage we're just going to try and stay there, get some decent results and see how we go. The wet's a bit different for me over here, and track temperature tends to stay up in Australia, whereas here, you know, it's a lot cooler, so it's a little bit different. Yeah, I'm looking for a podium finish, but I'll be happy with a top 5 finish, I think, with the conditions and the way it is at the moment.
Dean was right about Brown and Moody, 2nd and 3rd on the grid, but pole was set by Wigan's multiple ex-champ Mike Edwards, back from nasty injuries sustained at Donington. Dean leads row 2, but watch out for number 52, the teenage sensation James Toseland, who's got special dispensation to ride at this level after dominating the support class. Some big names marooned back on row 4, notably championship contenders Hill and Simpson.
The red light is on then, and they're away. It goes green, and big wheel spin from the pole man there. He really did struggle to get off. Mike Edwards is going backwards through the pack already. We're at Paddock Hill Bend, and this is going to be drama. Phil McCallan round the outside. Well, it takes a brave man, and Phil is a brave man. Up towards Druids for the first time, the right-hander, and already did I see Mr. Moody.
You did. Moody leads, and that is Paul Mara Brown second, by far his best showing so far this season. Yep, the black-leathered Paul Brown in second place.
And the treacherous bottom bend, look at it, it is so slippery round there, these bikes. Well, they've got the perfect kind of power for this kind of track in these kind of conditions, although you'd have to convince the riders, I reckon. Look at that, Moody away already.
Adam Lewis, number 99, to 3rd place, just in front of, it looked like Ian Simpson on the first of the V&M bikes.
They're going to sort themselves out on this early lap. Oh, well, I think Jim Moody's going to sort them out completely on this first lap, because Moody is pulling away through clearways up onto the start and finish straight, and it is Moody over the line. But look at this, side by side into paddock, drama already. Ian Simpson comes up, 22 Simpson has moved up a place, and that was a very, very well judged move at paddock.
Simo into third in front of Adam Lewis, but still Moody leads from Brown. Ian Simpson, number 22, looking good. And Lewis now coming under more pressure, I think, from Danny Beaumont.
Adam Lewis, though, great performance from him at the moment. Front row qualifier, and look at him doing the business in the race as well. This is the worst corner on the track, in my view. That bottom down through that left-hander there onto the really slippery stuff, squirting the power all the way around, just knocking it off here and into the left-hander part of Clearways, then right across the Grand Prix circuit and back onto the main circuit again now. It is so very, very tricky. Onto Clearways, power down, hard as you can.
Adam Lewis, number 99, looking good in fourth place. He's scored points, Keith, in every round so far, so consistency his main weapon this year.
Danny Beaumont behind him, though, coming through from the third row. That's not a bad start for him, but look at Moody. Moody now under some attack. Moody being attacked by Paul Brown from Scunthorpe. So Mara Brown on the charge. Well, these two have done battle before. Simo's right behind them in third place as well. So two Scots sandwiched in the Scunthorpe man. What do you make of that, Jules?
I'm not sure what I can, Keith, actually, but Paul Brown, it's great to see him back to some kind of form. An ex-250 champion, that's Simon Smith, the pole sitter, number 24.
Look like Danny Beaumont have moved up a place as well. As we are side by side, that is not the place to be doing it, believe me. 52 there. Well, coming off worse, Jamie Toseland. He has been a sensation on the 600 over the course of the year, and he's only here because the organising bodies allowed him to be.
16 years old, that lad.
57 going through. Steve Plater, he's well down as well as they stream back up onto Clearways. It is such a short lap on this Indy circuit, the Indy track being used today. 1.2 miles round, that's all.
I seem to remember you were quite good round here once upon a time, Keith.
I even had a lap record, and that was still in black and white as well. Anyway, we have Moody leading from Brown from Simpson. Still, they remain in this position. The conditions so difficult and so treacherous, as Moody proves there on the breaking up in the Druids. It is very, very difficult. You can easily end up in the sandpit at the top of the hill. You can see how classy the whole place looks, and the rain is coming down.
And I think this is a great ride from Jim Moody, because that Suzuki is even peakier than the other bikes. It should be, in my opinion, the most difficult one to ride round here in any conditions, let alone in these conditions.
Yeah, but it's got the tough Glaswegian on board, hasn't it, really? It'd sort of tear the bike apart if it wouldn't perform for him. Anyway, Moody under attack now from Mara Brown. Mara Brown right there, as is Simpson on the V&M bike. So Paul Mara Brown gets the drive brilliantly under Moody. And that indicated exactly what you were talking about, because the torque of Mara Brown's bike, no performance once you get on the straight, but the torque of Mara Brown's bike, he was able to deliver it onto the tarmac, and he got right alongside Moody onto the start and finish straight.
Yeah, the Suzuki being shadowed, Keith, by two Hondas, both Brown and Simpson in third on Hondas.
So, back at Druids, back with Moody at the front, but Mara Brown looking for a British Championship win. He hasn't had one of them for a while.
Not since he got a 250, I don't think, Keith, and he was a British 250 champion, and pretty good on those bikes as well. But these conditions are getting, if possible, worse.
They are indeed. It is getting glassy. Oh, Brownie, I thought he was going, but that is a classic manoeuvre here at Brands Hatch, but I wouldn't have thought it was on in these conditions, because it is so treacherously slippy. I know I've said it already, but believe me, they are belying the kind of conditions. I was trying to think of the word that would describe Brands Hatch probably. Just look at that rain. It is scything down here. Brown again gets the drive out of Clearways, and the Honda sits down in the dip just as he comes on the start and finish straight. But again, no slingshot necessary. Moody goes to the inside, but it's Brown, I think, that's headed him off. No! Jim Moody. Well, you need to have a certain amount. Yeah, I think they're looking around and deciding amongst themselves, what are we doing out here, boys? This is very, very wet. The rain not laying particularly anywhere at the moment, but certainly the conditions getting worse and worse. We can hardly see it. Our camera makes it look about 100 times better than it actually does for the riders through their visors. So real difficulty here, and they are virtually upright. I don't think I've seen conditions like this in a race that's kept on going for some time. So Moody then holds off Brown at the moment, but they don't look that interested in it, do they, really? They're sort of cruising around now. The rest of the pack is miles behind.
I was amazed a lap ago they were mentioned to make such a race of it, but I think you're right, Keith. I think they've just knocked it off. You can't race in stuff like this.
You can see the spray coming off the rear wheels now, and the rear end of even of these fairly lightweight bikes, the 600s, are still spinning all the way onto that straight. And the visibility here is appalling. It's bouncing off the track. You can't even see the white lines. This is getting worse and worse. They're in a monsoon. They're actually riding on a river. This is ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Mara Brown is in front, though, on bike 3. No, he's not. Moody. What can I say? Moody goes back through at Druids then.
Oh, brave man.
Every lap it gets worse for us to be able to see.
This is impossible. I cannot believe they're making such a good race of it in what are, in my view, utterly impossible conditions.
Brownie goes for the inside line. Well, you've got to take your hats off for the spectators to be standing in this, but I think the riders take the biscuit by staying out there at the moment, because this is getting dangerous now.
I think that's the word, Keith. And Ian Simpson, as you can see, has definitely knocked it off in third place. He's staying at a respectable distance as Brown again goes inside Moody.
Well, of course, if they stop this race, whatever lap they red flag it on, the result of the lap before is the one that counts. So Brownie needs to be in front. If he judges this perfectly, mind you, on the restart, we'll wait and see what the rules are at the end of this. But at the moment, it looks to me like this has got to stop. It cannot continue like this, because it's getting deep down in the bottom there. You can see, and as soon as they out, we got indications coming from Jim Moody.
Well, he wants to stop it, doesn't he?
Well, that's certainly an indication that stay back, Paul, for want of a better word. Yeah. But Brownie taking no notice, and this is so dangerous just here. It's very, very difficult on this particular part of the course. And again, the water now beginning to lay there. You can see there's a bow wave. Oh, Brownie sits up. There's a bow wave in front of Brownie's on the yes. He's saying, what's going on? The riders are going to stop this race. The organisers aren't. They must be asleep. In actual fact, they weren't, and common sense did prevail. The riders coming in after the organisers decided to red flag the race. Part 2 coming up in just a moment. It's going to be after this break. Welcome back to Full Throttle. The Supersport 600s line up on the grid to restart in the position they finished race 1 so far. It's aggregate times that are going to win this day. It's almost a race against the clock for these men. Conditions still not perfect. The red light is on. Flag Marshal moving to one side then. We wait for the green. Oh, and it's away straight away, and it caught Mara out completely. Mara Brown sideways on the grid and going backwards. Ian Simpson gets a flyer off the line though. It's Simo 22. But is it at paddock? Well, conditions hardly any better than they were at the end of that race. Part 1, I think we say. Look at the puddle at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend there. That is incredible.
That's horrible. That's a disaster for Mara Brown, because he's only got 1/10 of a second to make up on Jim Moody if he wants to win the race. And at the moment, Moody's half a dozen bikes in front of him. What a disaster for the guy from Yorkshire.
It's going to be the pit crews that win this race for the riders, though. They've got to keep them informed exactly of where they are compared with the men around them in time. So really, the pit crews getting soaked on pit wall could win or lose this race for the riders. Ian Simpson, though, if he keeps this lead, he's going to end up winning it overall.
Yeah, that's about the lead that Jim Moody had over him. Look at Mara, there he is, forcing his way through already. Well, Mara Brown has made astonishing progress. Number 3 we're talking about, the man who was second by 1/10 of a second after the first leg of this 2-part race.
Well, the bike obviously worked perfectly for him round here. We saw him getting the better of Jim Moody out of that Clearways corner, but Moody now chasing after 21. Jim Moody chasing after Ian Simpson. Jim Moody even decided to put his waterproofs on for this part of the race, because they're flapping away in the wind, but he's in a flap now because he's got to chase Simpson, and Simpson looks smooth. 34 coming up now is Howard Whitby.
Now there's a man who's been around for a while.
Absolutely, and using some of that experience to suit in this weather. Mara Brown looking to get under it just there. That is front wheel city. You fall off there just when you think about tipping it in. The water is washing around these bikes. Whitby trying to go around the outside of Jim Moody. That is the most incredible manoeuvre I've seen put on Jim Moody all year long.
I think almost ever. That was astonishing. Whitby, a veteran, he won't mind us saying that, a European contender since the championship was invented. He came off the second row in this restart, so he's looking good for a rostrum at this rate, Keith.
Well, he came off the 6th row in the first race, of course, and that's why he ended up on the second row here. He was going so well. Now we're seeing him really in with a chance, and there he is in second place. 34 is Whitby in second place. Then it's Mara Brown on 3, 21 Jim Moody, but leading, I remind you, 22, another Scot. There he is, Ian Simpson. He's going to get the aggregate if he carries on like this, but Mara Brown goes through. Brownie is through at Druids. So Paul Brown almost sounds boring, really, doesn't it, that name? But he's certainly not. He's anything but boring, Mara Brown, socially or when he rides a motorcycle. Paul Brown underestimated, talented man, and Jim Moody under attack again. Jim Moody loses another place.
And that's Jamie Toseland, the teenager who's just overtaken Moody. Well, you talk about setup at the start of this, Keith, and it looks to me as if Jim Moody's crew have maybe guessed the wrong way here.
Well, I think a guess it had to be, because maybe they guessed for it to dry slightly, but it is absolutely so. Jamie Toseland there on 52. This is absolutely remarkable. He is about several seasons above his station, I would say, at the moment, because Jamie Toseland is so young. He's not used to racing in amongst this company at all, and we are talking about some very, very good men indeed in really difficult conditions where you normally have to draw on experience. But Jamie Toseland's drawing on something else, I think. That's bike 52 I'm talking about. You saw him coming in slightly out of shape there.
Yep, and there's vast experience around him. Ian Simpson, Jim Moody, Mara Brown, British champions, TT winners, the lot. And the 16-year-old is up there with them. Number 52, there he is on the yellow bike.
Well,
oh, look at number 36
he's
as
not
well.
up there with them, he's leaving them. That's Jim Moody being duffed up by 36 at the moment. Danny Beaumont. Well, we saw Danny Beaumont going really, really well in part one. He's just got in front of Moody. Moody must have made some wrong decision here. Probably the wrong decision was to come to Brands when it was raining, but there you go.
Yes, enough of that. And really, I am astounded by young Toes. Look at him, number 52, looking good. There's Moody, again out wide there, Keith. Having difficulty putting the power down again on the Suzuki compared to all the Honda riders around him, by the look of it.
Well, Jack Valentine and Steve Mellors are going to be real happy from the V&M camp because Ian Simpson is pulling away at the front of this field while everyone else trips themselves up. The Kenny Scott on bike 22 leads. Mara Brown gets back into second place from 34. That's Howard Whitby from Wakefield. Oh, it's a battle up there, that's for certain, because Brown is back there and Whitby is all over him. Through bottom bend, this is where Whitby looks really, really good. He closes in on Mara Brown as they come to the right-hander on the Indy course. They don't go up the Grand Prix course here. Now then, it's all going to be about the stopwatch, Julian, at the end of the day. Mara Brown, what's he going to be able to do? Because they are going to take the aggregate time of the two parts of this race that have been run today here at Brands Hatch. And that really is a mathematical nightmare for everyone to work out. But with Jim Moody going backwards, he might have been leading part one, but he has lost it in this second race.
Yeah, obviously he's lost the tenth of a second he had over Mara Brown, but in turn Ian Simpson up front has enough of a lead over those two to put him ahead on aggregate as we marvel again at the style of number 52, young Jamie Toseland, 16 years old, and dicing with, as Keith said, vastly experienced men, not just dicing with them, leading them.
Danny Beaumont's the man that's with him at the moment on bike 36. He himself is having a ride out of his socks as well here at Brands Hatch. He's right out on the wet line though, and that is tricky out there, and he's very, very brave going round the outside, believe me, braver than I ever was. So, that is so slippery just there. I don't know how, I'm amazed in this Supersport 600 race, how they're all staying together. We've not seen anybody on the dirt in the grass yet. It has been absolutely incredible because they have got some kind of grip here. Obviously, they've not been running too many cars here in the week preceding this rain because normally Brands Hatch, when it gets this wet, is so slippery for a motorcycle, but these guys seem to be able to keep it together.
Looking at Toseland, number 52, pursued by Beaumont, number 36 on the Yamaha Thundercat. Dear me.
Beaumont on a wide line there. Well, he's got Mick Doohan's helmet on and he's beginning to look like him as well in the wet. Round the outside, here's number 36 Beaumont. Lost a bit of time there, of course. We're looking down the field. 16 coming in, Phil Giles from Nottingham. Oh, dear me, pushing and shoving. 5, there's Mike Edwards. Well, Mike Edwards, he was the man that was going so well. In fact, he set whole time. He's qualified. Whoa, dear me. Well, it had to come, surely. That's at the top of Paddock Hill Bend. Well, he was definitely tripped, and hopefully he will be absolutely okay. There's a lot more runoff at Paddock Hill Bend now than there ever was in the past, but the soaking marshals are having a job to sort the problem out. Dave Redgate's on 17, 79 loses it, that's Gordon Whittaker, and takes out 32, Bill Hutchison. Well, Bill Hutchison, the luckless Bill Hutchison, tumbling into Paddock Sandpit. And the marshals on hand, and both riders perfectly okay, remarkably. Back on the track, Julian, and Ian Simpson under attack from 34, Whitby. Whitby's right there. Wow, the Wakefield man riding right out of his boots. He is having the best ride ever. Just look at this. Whitby on the power underneath Simpson. Simpson's pitboard will have told him he's got this covered as long as he stays in front of Mara Brown in third place at the moment. But Whitby, if he wins it, wow, what a ride it's going to be. Round the outside. Remarkable stuff, and he's put Simpson wide. Simo went wide all on his own there, so Mara Brown's gone through. Is Brownie going to win this race?
Well, at the moment, on time, he will do, but Howard Whitby, I remember back at the start of this class nearly 10 years ago when Howard Whitby was a man to beat on 600s, and here he is on Metzler tyres doing a real job, which is what experience does for you, Keith.
Well, you can't say that Paul Brown hasn't got experience, or this man, of course, Ian Simpson nowadays. He's still a youngster, just 27 years old, but Simo used to the wet weather. 13 coming into view. That's Dan Harris, the journalist. Number 1, Dave Hill going through there. Jim Moody, so far back. Oh, Jim Moody, so far off. Jim Moody out of it then. The Suzuki dumped unceremoniously, Alton Park style, right in the barrier. Moody is out of this race. Well, he's been struggling throughout. Let's take a look at it. Must have been the front under him, surely. So, tipping into Paddock Hill Bend, Moody gets in, and there goes the front, straight out from underneath him. Classic style, classic Brands Hatch, classic Paddock Hill bend, and becoming classic Jim Moody in the Supersport 600 class, I've got to say. 5.9 for style, though, Jim.
You can tell him that, Keith. Yep, that's the Suzuki runner out of contention as Howard Whitby at the front. Can't believe what's happening. He's hammering down into Paddock in the lead. Now Brown, OK, second on the roads, but first on aggregate times now for sure, because Moody is out and Ian Simpson is well behind him, as he was indeed in the first half of this race. So number 3 is the man at the moment who is winning this two-part race.
But it's going to be very interesting as far as the championship is concerned, because Simpson is going to grab a hatful of points here. Can't see anything from Dean Thomas. He's not around at the moment, and certainly not on the higher leaderboard positions anyway.
And at this rate, he's not going to win just the race. He's going to go to the top of the championship as well. Paul Brown winning his first Supersport 600 race of the year.
Last lap this is, and Brownie has absolutely got it covered. He has enough of a lead as far as Simpson is concerned to take this race on aggregate time. He's looking over his shoulder. It's going to be Whitby's race. He has ridden superbly. Howard Whitby is going to win, but Brownie knows it. On aggregate, he's got it covered. But what a ride from Howard Whitby on bike 34. 3 is Mara Brown, 22 is Ian Simpson, and a great Supersport 600 race in the worst possible conditions.
Brown's winning margin 1 3/4 seconds ahead of Simpson, with Whitby third, Beaumont fourth, and teenager Toseland in fifth. But let's hear how the winner saw the race.
No, I really enjoyed that. I knew it was a two-part race. Howard has made a few dangerous moves, and I knew I had a few seconds on him, so I let him go. I knew I just had to beat Ian, that's all. I saw Jim had gone down, so I just kept my head for once.
The thinking Paul Brown does indeed go to the top of the championship, but by just 4 points from Ian Simpson. Dean Thomas, well, he drops to third. What does the ex-championship leader think of that?
Basically, we picked the weather wrong. We took a gamble in the first start and put a dry weather tyre on. You know, and it didn't pay off. It started raining about the third lap in, so that put us somewhere around 24th or 5th on the grid for the second start. So we put a wet on for them, but just too much traffic, can't get through. It's just too hard. So, luckily enough, there was a few incidents with some of the top riders, and I think Hill and a few others ran sort of somewhere down the middle of the pack. So